First Contact, the Discovery commander, Elena Vasquez, stood before the main display screen of the UES Phantom, watching the stars shift as her ship moved through the darkness of space. 3 years into humanity's first deep space exploration mission, they had traveled farther from Earth than any human before them. The ship moved silently through the void, its experimental quantum drive leaving no trace of their passage. "Commander, you need to see this," called Dr. Marcus Chon from his science station. His voice carried an urgency that made Elena turn immediately. Marcus was not easily excited, but now his hands shook slightly as he worked his controls. "What have you found, Doctor?" Elena asked, moving to stand behind his chair. The main screen changed to show sensor readings that made her breath catch in her throat. "Artificial structures, Commander. Massive ones. I'm reading at least 50 installations in this system alone, each one the size of a small moon." Marcus pointed to the display. "But that's not the strangest part. These structures are ancient, but they're still active. Power signatures are off the charts." Lieutenant Sarah Torres looked up from her communications console, her dark eyes wide with amazement. "Commander, I'm picking up transmissions. Hundreds of them. Different languages, different signal types. This isn't just one species we're looking at." Elena felt her heart race. Humanity had wondered for centuries if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it was bigger than anyone had imagined. "How many species are we detecting, Lieutenant?" "At least 12 distinct signal patterns, but there might be more." "Commander, some of these transmissions are coming from ships. Really big ships. I'm talking about vessels that could carry entire cities." Elena moved back to her command chair, her mind racing. This changed everything. Earth had sent them out to explore and gather information about potential resources or habitable worlds. Instead, they had stumbled into what appeared to be a massive galactic civilization. "Full stealth mode," she ordered. "I want us invisible to every sensor they might have. Dr. Chon, begin detailed scans of everything in this system." "Lieutenant." "Torres, start recording and analyzing all transmissions. I want to know who these people are and what kind of technology they possess." The Zephyrian Empire light years away, on the command deck of the massive dreadnought Eternal Dominion Admiral Krixtal reviewed the daily reports from across the Empire. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled this section of the galaxy for over 3,000 years. Their blue-scaled skin and 4 powerful arms made them natural warriors, and their advanced technology had allowed them to conquer dozens of species. Admiral called his aide, approaching with a data crystal. "The tribute reports from the outer colonies. All sectors report full compliance with resource quotas." Krixtal nodded with satisfaction. The Empire ran smoothly because of fear and overwhelming force. Any species that tried to resist was quickly crushed. Any planet that failed to meet its quotas was bombed from orbit. It was simple and effective. "What news from the exploration fleets?" Krixtal asked. "Any new worlds to add to the Empire?" 3 new systems have been claimed this cycle, Admiral. 2 contained primitive civilizations that were easily conquered. The 3rd was uninhabited, but rich in rare minerals. Krixtal smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The Empire continued to grow, as it had for millennia. No force in the galaxy could stand against Zephyrian might. Their ships were the largest, their weapons the most powerful, their armies the most disciplined. Meanwhile, on the planet Nexus 7, General Vorth studied intelligence reports in his underground command center. Unlike the arrogant naval commanders, Vorth had learned to be cautious through years of ground combat. Something in the recent reports troubled him. "Show me the patrol logs from Sector 47, he ordered his intelligence officer. The holographic display showed routine patrol routes and sensor sweeps. Everything appeared normal, but Vorth's instincts told him otherwise. Several patrols had reported brief, unexplained sensor contacts over the past few weeks. Each time, follow-up scans found nothing. Sir, these could simply be equipment malfunctions or cosmic interference, suggested his aide. Perhaps, Vorth replied, but his tone suggested he wasn't convinced. Double the patrol schedules in that sector. If something is out there, I want to know about it. Human ingenuity back aboard the Phantom. Elena and her crew worked around the clock to analyze their discoveries. What they learned both amazed and concerned them. The galaxy was filled with intelligent life, but it was dominated by a single empire that ruled through fear and violence. Commander, I've managed to translate some of their transmissions, Sarah reported. The Zephyrian Empire controls over 200 star systems. They've enslaved at least 15 different species, forcing them to work in mines and factories. Dr. Chun looked up from his analysis station. Their technology is impressive but old, Commander. These readings suggest they haven't made any significant advances in centuries. They've grown complacent. What do you mean? Elena asked. Look at their ship designs, Marcus said, bringing up detailed scans on the main screen. Massive, powerful, but following the same basic patterns they've used for 1,000 years. Their shields operate on predictable frequencies. Their weapon systems are standardized across their entire fleet. Elena studied the data carefully. They've never needed to innovate because they've never faced a real challenge. Exactly. Meanwhile, look at what we've accomplished. Marcus switched the display to show schematics of the Phantom. Our ship is 1/10 the size of their smallest warship, but our stealth technology makes us completely invisible to their sensors. Our quantum drive is faster and more efficient than anything they have. Our adaptive AI systems can learn and counter their tactics in real time. Sarah nodded enthusiastically. Commander, I've been studying their military communications. They use the same tactical patterns in every engagement, the same formations, the same strategies. They win through overwhelming force, not through clever thinking. Elena felt a mix of excitement and dread. Humanity had always succeeded through innovation and adaptation. When faced with a problem, humans found creative solutions. When confronted with a stronger enemy, they found ways to be smarter, faster, more flexible. Dr. Chun, how long would it take to analyze their key technologies and find weaknesses? Give me 72 hours, Commander. I'm already seeing patterns in their shield harmonics and weapon frequencies. With our quantum computers, we should be able to create countermeasures for everything they have. The warning signs deep in Zephyrian space. Patrol Ship Commander Zektar stared at his sensor display with growing frustration. For the third time this week, his sensors had detected something that shouldn't exist. Brief contacts that appeared and vanished without explanation. Sensor operator, run a full diagnostic on all detection systems, he ordered. Yes, sir. All systems show normal operation. No malfunctions detected. Zektar wasn't satisfied. In 20 years of service, he had never seen sensor readings like these. Whatever was causing them, it wasn't random cosmic phenomena. Communications. Send a message to Fleet Command. Report unexplained sensor contacts in Grid 7 Alpha. Request investigation. By science vessel. The message traveled through the Empire's communication network, eventually reaching Admiral Krickstahl aboard the Eternal Dominion. The Admiral read the report with irritation. Another nervous patrol commander seeing ghosts, he muttered, tossing the data crystal aside. Send a standard response. Tell him to recalibrate his sensors and stop wasting my time with phantom readings. But General Vorth received a copy of the same report, and he reacted differently. He had been collecting similar reports from across 3 sectors. Individually, they meant nothing. Together, they suggested a pattern. Assemble a task force, he ordered his staff. 3 heavy cruisers and a science vessel. I want them to investigate these sensor anomalies personally. Sir, Fleet Command has dismissed these reports as equipment malfunctions, his aide pointed out. Fleet Command hasn't fought ground battles against desperate enemies, Vorth replied grimly. I have. I know what it looks like when someone is. Watching you from the shadows. Preparation for war aboard the Phantom. Elena called her senior staff to the briefing room. The walls displayed everything they had learned about the Zephyrian Empire over the past week. Ship configurations, weapon specifications, patrol routes, communication protocols, and most importantly, weaknesses. People, we have a decision to make, Elena began. We came out here to explore and gather information. What we found is a galaxy-spanning empire built on slavery and oppression. They've conquered 15 species and show no signs of stopping. Dr. Chun leaned forward. Commander, Earth needs to know about this. If the Empire continues expanding, they'll eventually find our solar system. Agreed, but Earth is 12 light-years away. Even with our quantum communicators, it would take 6 months to send a message and receive a reply. By then, the Empire might have detected us and learned about Earth's location. Sarah looked at the tactical displays. Commander, what if we don't wait for orders from Earth? What if we take action ourselves? Elena had been thinking the same thing. Explain your sir. Thinking, Lieutenant. We know their weaknesses. We have technology they can't detect or understand. A single ship like ours could cause massive disruption to their operations. We could free entire worlds before they figured out what was happening. Marcus nodded slowly. The element of surprise would be enormous. They've never faced stealth technology like ours. Their first indication of attack would be when their ships started exploding. Elena stood and walked to the tactical display. Show me their key installations. Command centers, shipyards, communication hubs. The display highlighted dozens of critical targets throughout Zephyrian space. Elena studied them carefully, her tactical mind working through possibilities. If we disable their communication network, first, they can't coordinate a response. If we destroy their shipyards, they can't build reinforcements. If we eliminate their command structure, their fleets become isolated and vulnerable. Commander, Sarah said quietly, are we really talking about going to war with an entire galactic empire? Elena looked at her crew, seeing determination in their faces. Sometimes, Lieutenant, the right thing to do is also the most dangerous thing to do. Humanity has always stood against oppression and slavery. The fact that this oppression spans multiple star systems doesn't change our principles. Dr. Chun began pulling up technical specifications. If we're doing this, we'll need to modify our weapon systems. Our current armament is designed for exploration and self-defense, not ship-to-ship combat. How long for modifications? Elena asked. 48 hours to optimize our plasma cannons and install additional missile launchers. Our manufacturing bay can produce specialized warheads designed to exploit their shield weaknesses. Elena made her decision. Do it. Sarah, prepare detailed intelligence packages for Earth Command. Whether we succeed or fail, they need to know what's out here and what we've learned. Yes, Commander. And if I may say so, this is exactly the kind of situation humanity was meant to face. We've always been at our best when fighting for others who can't fight for themselves. As her crew dispersed to begin preparations, Elena remained in the briefing room, staring at the display of Zephyrian territory. In 48 hours, one small human ship would challenge an empire that had ruled the galaxy for 3 millennia. The odds were impossible, but Elena had studied enough human history to know that impossible odds had never stopped her species before. The Zephyrian Empire had grown powerful through fear and force, but they had never faced human ingenuity, determination, and the simple refusal to accept that some fights couldn't be won The war for galactic freedom was about to begin. The Empire's fall. The first strike commander, Elena Vasquez, watched the countdown timer reach 0 on her command display. 48 hours of preparation had transformed the Phantom from an exploration vessel into a precision weapon. Dr. Chun's modifications had exceeded all expectations, while Lieutenant Torres had identified the perfect target for their opening. "Move. All stations report ready, Commander," Sarah announced from her console. "Quantum stealth field at maximum efficiency. Enemy sensors show no indication they've detected us." Elena nodded, studying the massive communication relay station floating in space before them. The structure was the size of a small city, responsible for coordinating all Zephyrian military communications across 3 sectors. Its destruction would blind dozens of fleets and leave them unable to coordinate any response. "Dr. Chun, confirm weapon modifications are online. All systems green, Commander. Plasma cannons are tuned to overload their shield frequencies. Quantum torpedoes are armed and ready. Once we fire, their shields won't just fail, they'll create a cascade reaction that will tear the station apart from the inside." Elena took a deep breath. Everything they had worked for came down to this moment. One shot would announce humanity's presence to the galaxy and begin a war that would determine the fate of billions of enslaved beings. Fire. The Phantom's weapons discharged in perfect silence. Streams of modified plasma struck the relay stations. Shields which flickered and failed exactly as predicted. The quantum torpedoes followed milliseconds later, penetrating deep into the station's core before detonating. What happened next exceeded even Dr. Chun's calculations. The relay station didn't simply explode. The quantum warheads created a cascade reaction that tore through its power systems, causing secondary explosions that lit up the surrounding space like a new star. Within 30 seconds, the massive structure was reduced to glowing debris. "Target destroyed," Sarah reported, her voice filled with amazement. "Communication traffic across 3 sectors has gone silent. They're completely cut off from fleet." "Command," Elena smiled grimly. "Excellent. Next target." Technological superiority Admiral Krickstall stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, staring at his communications board in confusion. Half of his fleet indicators had gone dark, showing no contact with ships that had been reporting normally just minutes ago. "Communications officer, why have we lost contact with the 7th Fleet?" he demanded. "Unknown, Admiral. All communication. Relays in Sector 12 have gone offline simultaneously. We're trying to reach them through backup channels." Krickstall's aide approached nervously. "Sir, we're receiving similar reports from Sectors 15 and 23. Multiple relay stations have been destroyed within the last hour." "Destroyed?" Krickstall's voice rose to a roar. "By whom? What force could destroy our relay stations without being detected?" Before anyone could answer, the tactical officer called out urgently. "Admiral, we're receiving distress signals from the Nexus 7 shipyards. They report massive explosions and systems failures." The main screen shifted to show long-range sensor data from the shipyards. The massive construction facilities that had built Zephyrian warships for centuries were burning. Explosions continued to bloom across the complex as secondary systems failed. "How is this possible?" Krickstall whispered. "The shipyards are protected by 12 heavy cruisers and a full defense grid." Meanwhile, General Vorth stood in his command center, watching similar reports flood in from across the Empire. Unlike the naval commanders, he immediately understood what was happening. "We're under attack," he announced to his staff. "Someone has been watching us, learning our weaknesses, and now they're striking at our most critical infrastructure." "But sir, our sensors show no enemy ships, no invasion fleets, no attack formations." Vorth studied the pattern of attacks on his tactical display. Communication relays destroyed first, preventing coordination. Shipyards targeted next, preventing. Reinforcement. Command centers would be next, leaving the military paralyzed. Whoever is doing this understands warfare better than we do, he said grimly. They're not fighting us ship to ship. They're dismantling our ability to fight back. The cascade effect aboard the Phantom. Elena and her crew watched their tactical display as red warning lights appeared across Zephyrian space. Each light represented a critical facility going offline, a command post destroyed, or a fleet group losing communication with headquarters. Commander, we've eliminated 17 primary targets in the last 6 hours, Dr. Chun reported. Enemy response time is getting slower, not faster. They can't coordinate their defenses. Sarah looked up from her console, excitement clear in her voice. Commander, I'm intercepting communications from their remaining command posts. They're in complete chaos. Some are reporting rebel uprisings on conquered worlds. Others are calling for retreat to defensive positions. Elena studied the tactical situation. Their strategy was working better than she had dared hope. By striking at the Empire's ability to communicate and coordinate, they had turned the Zephyrian military's greatest strength into a weakness. Ships that had dominated through coordinated mass attacks were now isolated and vulnerable. What's our next target, Doctor? Marcus highlighted a new location on the display. The primary fleet base at Centauri Prime. It's where they keep their reserve forces. 47 heavy cruisers and the Eternal Dominion herself. Admiral Crickstall's flagship, the same. If we can eliminate their command ship and reserve fleet, the rest of their forces will be cut off with no central authority to coordinate them. Elena considered the tactical situation. The fleet base would be the most heavily defended target they had faced. But it was also the heart of Zephyrian military power. How do we approach without being detected? Sarah smiled. I've been monitoring their communication patterns. They're so focused on trying to reestablish contact with their outer fleets that they've reduced local patrols. We can get within striking distance before they know we're there. Alien realization on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. Admiral Crickstall finally accepted the truth he had been trying to deny. The Empire was under attack by an enemy unlike anything they had ever faced. An enemy that could strike anywhere without being seen, destroy massive installations without warning, and disappear before defenses could respond. Admiral, his tactical officer called out. Long-range sensors are detecting massive system failures at the Centauri defense grid. Multiple shield generators are offline. Crickstall felt his blood run cold. The defense grid protected the most important fleet base in the Empire. If it fell, the heart of Zephyrian military power would be exposed. All ships, maximum alert status. Begin emergency protocols for base defense. But even as he gave the orders, Crickstall knew they were too late. His sensors showed the Phantom's approach, but only for brief moments before the human ship vanished again. By the time his weapons could lock on, their target was gone. General, Vorth arrived on the bridge, having commandeered a transport to reach the flagship. His expression was grim as he studied the tactical displays. Admiral, we need to face reality. We're fighting an enemy with technology we don't understand and tactics we can't counter. Impossible, Crickstall snarled. No force in the galaxy can match Zephyrian might. Look around you, Vorth said quietly. Half our fleet is disabled or destroyed. Our communication network is in ruins. Our shipyards are burning. We've been outmatched by an enemy we can't even see clearly. As if to emphasize his point, explosions began blooming across the Centauri defense grid. The Phantom had begun its attack on the fleet base, and the massive defensive installations were falling one by one. Sir, the tactical officer reported, enemy vessel has been detected at range 50,000 kilometers. Locking weapons. Fire everything. Crickstall roared, The Eternal Dominion's massive weapons batteries opened fire, sending streams of plasma and antimatter missiles toward the Phantom's position. But by the time the weapons reached their target, the human ship was no longer there. Instead, quantum torpedoes struck the Eternal Dominion's shields from a completely different direction. The flagship's defenses, designed to stop conventional weapons, offered no protection against technology that could phase shift through solid matter. Galactic Order, the end, came faster than anyone could have imagined. With their flagship crippled and their command structure in ruins, the remaining Zephyrian fleets found themselves isolated and leaderless. One by one, ship commanders began surrendering rather than face destruction by an enemy they couldn't fight. On conquered worlds throughout, the Empire, enslaved species rose in rebellion as news of the Zephyrian defeats spread. Weapons stockpiles were seized, garrison forces overwhelmed, and centuries of oppression began to crumble. Aboard the Phantom, Elena received surrender offers from 12 different fleet commanders in the span of 6 hours. The mighty Zephyrian Empire, which had ruled the galaxy for 3 millennia, was falling apart in a matter of days. "Commander," Sarah reported, "we're receiving a priority message from Admiral Crickstall. He's requesting terms for full surrender of all Zephyrian forces." Elena looked at her crew, seeing the same amazement in their faces that she felt. When they had departed Earth 3 years ago, they had been explorers seeking new worlds and new knowledge. Now they found themselves the architects of galactic liberation. "Open a channel, Lieutenant." Admiral Crickstall's image appeared on the main screen. The proud Zephyrian leader looked beaten and exhausted. Behind him, the bridge of the Eternal Dominion showed signs of massive damage. "I am Commander Elena Vasquez of the United Earthship Phantom," Elena said formally. "I understand you wish to discuss surrender terms." "Commander," Crickstall said, his voice barely controlled, "in 3 days you have accomplished what we believed impossible. You have defeated an empire that has ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. What are your terms?" Elena had been thinking about this moment since the fighting began. Complete cessation of all military operations, immediate release of all enslaved species, and withdrawal from conquered worlds, full disclosure of all military installations and weapon stockpiles, and most importantly, a guarantee that the Zephyrian military will never again wage wars of conquest. Crickstall nodded slowly. "And in return, the Zephyrian people will be allowed to govern themselves peacefully. No retribution against civilians. No occupation of your home worlds. Humanity doesn't seek conquest, Admiral. We seek freedom for all species." As the formal surrender was signed, Dr. Chun looked up from his science station. "Commander, I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout former Zephyrian territory. It appears that multiple species are powering up their own starships for the first time in centuries." Elena smiled. "The galaxy is waking up, Doctor. For the first time in 3,000 years, species that were conquered and enslaved are free to chart their own course among the stars." Sarah turned from her communications console. "Commander, we're receiving messages from over 30 different species. They're thanking humanity for what we've done and asking if we'll help them rebuild their civilizations." Elena looked out at the stars through the bridge viewports. When humanity had first ventured into space, they had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew they weren't alone, and more importantly, they had proven that the human spirit of freedom and justice could light up the entire galaxy. "Send a message to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them that humanity is no longer alone among the stars. And tell them that we've found our place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as liberators." The Phantom turned toward home, leaving behind a galaxy that would never be the same. The age of empires built on fear and oppression was ending. The age of cooperation and freedom among the stars was about to begin. In the end, It wasn't superior firepower or larger ships that won the war. It was human ingenuity, creativity, and the simple belief that all intelligent beings deserve to be free. The Zephyrian Empire had fallen not because humans were stronger, but because they were smarter, more adaptable, and more determined. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the smallest ship can carry the biggest ideas, and those ideas can change everything. Asterisk.